What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I watched Forbidden Planet for the first time. So we're going to talk about it. It's spooky season. I've never seen Forbidden Planet before. I'm fully aware of its existence. I've not seen every movie that's ever been made. I feel like that's a tough bar. So I feel like now, because I've been through spooky season and I got a comment on one of my other reviews, I have to predicate things with uh I'm not here to like educate you historically on the relevance of these movies. There are people who have written novels about some of these things. There are like podcasts that go on for hours. I mean, there's so many things for some of these. It's just a short video, man. I'm a blind film critic. I'm just like, from my perspective, being blind, listening to this with audio description, that's what this is. If you came here for education and film history, that's not what I'm trying to do here. If I don't list somebody's credits, or I don't list all the actors or all the directors or all the writers and screen, it's because I can't memorize everything that quickly, and I would lose track, and you'd have to hear me with my assistive technology, which with robots reading things to me, which is actually kind of appropriate for Forbidden Planet. But somebody called me out because I didn't name everything that Jamie Gertz had done. And I just kind of went with the most interesting fact about her being a billionaire who owns a sports team now. So her career went in a completely different direction. um, so, yeah, Forbidden Planet from 1956 stars Leslie Nielsen in a dramatic role, which is, I feel like, cool in and of itself, because yeah, for a lot of us who look like they're in my age group, we grew up with him doing spoofs. Like, that was basically all he was doing. My earliest recollection of him was The Naked Gun. That was the frame, like that was it. And then all of his other like 90s things, and he had already done, Airplane at that point. So he was being used in spoof comedies. I remember him from The Golden Girls too. He was on The Golden Girls. He guest starred on that. I didn't see Forbidden Planet. I didn't see his dramatic stuff. Obviously, I've seen him drop into things since then, but it's funny when you see somebody. It's sort of like uh, how we view people who come off of Saturday Night Live. We think of them as comedians first, and then they move into drama. Actually, it's the reverse. This has just happened. This is how we consume Leslie Nielsen generally nowadays, is that you consume him first as a comedian, which was the latter half of his career, and then you have to go back and consume him as a dramatic actor when you're catching up on films that were made before you were born, which is only going to happen more and more as there are more and more YouTubers who are even younger than me that didn't even grow up with Naked Gun and are, I don't even know how they're catching up on Leslie Nielsen. So, because he was dead by the time most of these new YouTubers were born. So yeah. Uh, this is a classic. I do know that. Like, I knew it was a sci-fi classic. I knew I was going to watch it at some point eventually. It's like having those films in your head, and you're like, well, if I find it with audio description, I'll watch it at some point. And because I didn't get to see it before, some films I don't know that I'll ever get to see. Like, I reviewed John Woo's The Killer remake, and somebody was like, "You shouldn't have seen the original one." Like, I know. I'm sorry I didn't watch every single movie in the short time that I found out I was losing my vision. I should have done that. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to watch cinema, and the like complete lack of access, especially with regard to international film. My bad. So I didn't close in all the gaps on every single film ever made. Uh, Going back, maybe I would have been a little bit more specific with the films I had watched, knowing the lack of audio description that was going to be available to me. But this has Robbie the Robot, which has turned iconic, and I separately know Robbie the Robot because Robbie the Robot has popped up in like everything, all the way up into including The Big Bang Theory, but has just been this like sci-fi icon for years. This directly influenced Gene Roddenberry in the creation of Star Trek. So Forbidden Planet has led to a lot of things. It's the first use of an electronic score, which was controversial at the time and was not allowed to be called music. Oh, the times they are changing. It's based on William Shakespeare's The Tempest, like loosely based on that. It had traditional hand-drawn animation, which is crazy when you think about it, because today obviously we do like CGI. We don't have people like actually like drawing on film cells. But here they actually hired an animator who had worked with Disney to draw, like, because we didn't have computer animation. So if it wasn't practical, how was it getting on the screen? Um, so the monster here ends up becoming uh anyway, so there's like a whole bunch of stuff that Forbidden Planet is known for. I also know there's a kind of a schlocky, campy musical called Return to Forbidden Planet. That I it exists. I promise you, there's a musical called Return to Forbidden Planet. Um, so it's lived on. It continues to live on. Um, this predates us landing on the moon. So this is sort of like before the space race. This is sort of a warning to those who may seek to, we were sort of obsessed with science fiction. A lot of it was cheap before though, but we did have films where aliens were coming to Earth, and it was always like, who, what's going to do? What will happen if they come here? Everything was science fiction because we hadn't achieved it yet. We hadn't been to space. We hadn't gotten into the stars and seen the moon and done all that we had done up until this point. And the advancements in technology and thinking about things and thinking about, well, will we have a gun that will vaporize something? Will we have a machine that will just create synthesized food for us? Are we going to be able to build some sort of like sentient robot like Robbie? So all of those things coming into play in 1956 is kind of cool. This was also a pretty high budget sci-fi film for its time. Those are all the things that I know about it. But was it good? Um, it's certainly interesting. And I'm not gonna say it's bad, but because when you watch something from 1956, there's that immediate reaction to, why aren't more things going boom like they do today? Why isn't there's no screaming? There's, everything just feels like it's before it's like it's old fashioned, and somehow it's done something wrong because now we have James Cameron and he's done, and we've conquered with Alien and that franchise and all of the things we've managed to do since. Well, all of those things that we've done since are, well, they're all based on something else that came before them, and then those things are based on something that came before that, and eventually we find sort of the root of the cause, and this is the influential thing that started a lot of those things. So it's sort of like we are very, with example to the fact that this is adapted from The Tempest, we hold that with a lot of reverence with William Shakespeare's works. We don't sit there and go, oh, it's too old, you know? Oh, it's so old fashioned. Oh, that William Shakespeare. Because we understand so many things that have been based upon, and so many things that have come after that, that it's rightly regarded as classic. So, but even within that, the ones that are historical artifacts that have shaped the things that came after them, you can still have opinions about them. There's like a range of things. Like people are influenced by Alfred Hitchcock, but that doesn't mean that all of his movies are 10 out of 10. You can have like a sliding scale of Hitchcock films, like most people do. So for Forbidden Planet, it's interesting. It offers up a lot of ideas. The audio description was fine. I kept trying to envision what this was actually looking like in 1956, being shot on a set with like little flying saucers, and and the practical design of Robbie with definitely somebody in that suit. And one of the things the audio description didn't do was comment on the professor's daughter, Ada, or like, I forget her name, her skimpy clothing, which I kind of remember also being iconic, was the fact that they have like one girl in this movie and she's barely wearing any clothing, which was like scandalous at the time. It was like her fashion was, very space age, and not like space, not the kind of stuff that you would travel in space in. So, not a lot of commentary on her wardrobe or on her look and attire and appearance, even though like the guys are all focused on her like they've never seen a woman before because they've been on this like long space journey, and they're like sailors getting off of a ship for the first time, and like, we're at port, where are the women at? So not everything is ages well. Some of the jokes are weird. There's like there's this scene with the cook who asks the robot to make some more, I want to say it's whiskey. Was it bourbon? It was either bourbon or whiskey for him, and he's got a little bit of it, and he's like, I want to be able to use this for my cooking. First of all, he's got like this weird like like Walt Disney cartoonish sci-fi voice of the time. And then the robot like drinks some of it. It's a robot. Uh, and, and then it burps. What is it burp for? It's like having a fart joke in the middle of a, because this is presented as a serious movie. Like, this is straightforward. And I'm like, why is the burp there? Why is the robot doing this? So like, I'm not gonna say all of this is like the most brilliant stuff I've ever seen in cinema, but for its time, it was still an advancement. For its time, it was people taking science fiction seriously and not treating it as like some schlocky, midnight movie type thing where uh you have this giant ant that's on like some sort of like screen behind them that they seem to be running from, but that's not an ant, and it's not really there. It's you know um uh so yeah. I this is fine. Of course, like, there's this danger of coming to the planet. They learn about the race that was there before, and there's energy. And we're in the 1950s, so of course we bring up like nuclear energy and the dangers of it. And I think it's what's interesting is it just like the idea of cellular regeneration that's brought up here. So again, like some of the science fiction ideas, when you get back into sort of those early science fiction writers, like uh, Wells, Orwell, and Asimov, who had these sort of like really interesting concepts behind them with a lot of their work. Um, it's interesting to see some of these little like thought pieces in these films about like, well, what if this thing was regenerating itself, was using the energy around it to regenerate itself as we're attacking it. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, so I liked Forbidden Planet. I'm not gonna say I loved it. I'm not gonna say I need to feel like I need to watch it like 20 times. For some reason, it felt really long, and then it felt really short. Like, it takes a long time to kind of get to where like the action part of it goes, because you keep thinking, when is shit gonna go down? There's a whole lot of like lead up and a lot of introduction and a lot of character and story building and world building, and then it kind of feels like we move really quickly through the crew elimination phase. So that's my only thing. It's just balancing the pacing a little bit better. Would have been my thought. So but then again, I think crew elimination phase was probably one of the more expensive parts of the movie, and it's a lot easier to just have people standing around in on set looking like they're in sci-fi with the costumes and having these thought-provoking conversations about science fiction than actually having to shoot the science fiction. So for a film that was already sort of over budget and a little expensive, having more action sequences, or having the film sort of equally balanced between talking and action, uh, would have just been asking maybe a little bit too much for a film that hadn't quite helped the genre prove itself. Like, nowadays, it's a lot easier to try to get studios to invest in science fiction movies, even when they bomb, because we have so many science fiction hits. There's so many that the studios are chasing the next, Independence Day or Matrix or, whatever they can think of. Um, So they're constantly investing in science fiction. So even if they have a failure like Red Planet or Mission to Mars, they're not stunted in their decision to continue to make more science fiction. There was just a lot of weight on the shoulders in 1956 of, well, can we spend more money on science fiction? Will more people show up? How will people respond to it? So, and then of course everything changes once we have the space race and people become more interested in space for time being. And we have things like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is kind of misunderstood during its time. So, yeah, the evolution of science fiction is an interesting video that I'm sure plenty of other people have. This audio description track is somewhat newer. It's definitely not old and it's definitely not TTS, but it doesn't sound like it was made like yesterday. So I would go with like last 5 years ish. So I thought it did a good job. The only thing was I thought it was weird that it kind of dodged a lot of description having to do with the girl, even though she's clearly the object of desire for multiple characters. She's in the middle of a love triangle between two of the men. So, but other than that, I like Forbidden Planet. I don't think it's the spookiest thing, but in 1956 it was. In 1956, seeing this cartoon alien thing that was, destroying things was, I'm sure, shocking to people in 1956 who hadn't seen things before. Remember, like, when there's the example of everything is relative. So, like, way back in the day, there was the famous sort of like train that was like coming in, and that scared the shit out of people because they thought the train was actually going to come into the room. They didn't understand the concept of film, but it was just a shot of a train like arriving at a station, but it was like coming at the camera, and like people were scared because they thought the train was actually coming. Like nowadays, nobody would move. Nobody would be like, oh, the train is actually coming. So everything is sort of relative. So like in 1956, if you haven't seen certain things before, I'm sure they were spooky. So this still qualifies for spooky season. It's just honoring the things that came before it. So I'm happy to include it here and to be able to talk about Forbidden Planet at some point, and to have checked this off the box of, yes, I finally have seen Forbidden Planet. Now I understand the movie. And Leslie Nielsen's dramatic performance, you know what? He's actually pretty good. I like his dramatic work. So I didn't feel like he was like overacting or giving some sort of weird campy performance here. I thought it was perfectly fine. So yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts. So check out Forbidden Planet. I'm not gonna. I respect it. I'm not gonna say I love the film. I don't really know how to grade a film that's regarded by a lot as being as classic, but I didn't immediately go, "Oh my God." I totally understand, because there are times where I feel that, where I watch a movie that is a classic for the first time and is older, and I'm like, well, yeah, of course. Like, well, that was terrific. Well, I'm glad, I'm amazed. I'm so happy I got to see that. But it's not every time. Sometimes I'm like, I think I've seen too many current movies, and it's kind of hampering my ability to like fully embrace this for what it is and what it was. So, I'm going to give it like an 8.1 out of 10, and we're going to go with that. So check out Forbidden Planets if you can find it with audio description wherever you are in the world. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.